Welcome to the Gritcast, where we get into the nitty-gritty of all things hockey. From the East to the West Coast. Here are your hosts, Matt Pierce, Nikosh Ganguly, and Darius Dominguez.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode number 19 of the Gritcast. We're doing the episode a little bit earlier this week. People are busy. People have lives. I know it's a hard thing to understand. But we are back, and since last week, Bruce Boudreau finally got fired. It was about time that the Canucks stopped playing chicken with the guy. So they fire him. They fire some of the assistant coaches. They bring in Rick Tocchet, who was basically the coach as of like 2 weeks ago. But Bruce Boudreau kept fucking coaching. He was out there. And, yeah, it's just pretty shitty by the Canucks. They've been a tire fire all year. They brought in a bunch of guys from the old Penguins team. They brought in Sergei Gonchar as well. And Rick Tocchet obviously worked under Jim Rutherford when the Penguins won those cups. So, you know, the old boys club, all the nepotism, you know, it increases. It's nice. So the Canucks now expect them to go on a little bit of a heater because every time someone gets a new coach, they start to win for some reason. It makes no sense. And then I remember one of my favorite things before Boudreau knew he was getting fired. He was like, "Yeah, don't be surprised when this team goes on a heater because they face Chicago and like a bunch of like crappy teams over like the next few days," which is a great way to exit before you get fired. But fellas, number one, what do we think of the situation? I know, you know, we're all gonna think we probably all have similar viewpoints here. And number two is what's the Canucks outlook until like the end of the season here? Matt, I'll go to you first.
For your first point, I think they should have just, you know, rode the season with Boudreau and then bring in Tocchet or another coach at the end because obviously they weren't really going to go anywhere. Contrary to what I said before the season. And then to answer your other point, they're just a directionless team now. Like, I don't really know what to expect from them. Like you said, they'll go on a bit of a heater and take themselves out of the Bedard race and just continue to be mediocre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't understand why they would fire Boudreau at this point of the season. Like, they've been a tire fire all year, and now you're bringing in Tocchet to right the ship with the same personnel. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, especially before the trade deadline. Like, I would understand if they did this after the trade deadline, but like Matt said, they're just directionalists. Like, I have no idea what this team is. I don't know what they're going to be. They have some easy opponents coming up. Obviously, every time a new coach comes in a team, you know, they get hot. They might win some games. Expect them to win the first game under the new coach, but like, I don't know. This team straight up sucks.
And I do want to say one of I think the first thing original things Rick Tocchet said is I want to get JT Miller back to the player he was, and the player JT Miller was an absolute power play merchant. So I have hockey reference up here. Last year, JT Miller, do you guys know how many points he had? Do we have a number?
I'll guess like 75.
JT Miller, wasn't he like one off from 100? Wasn't he at 99?
Yeah, 99.
Oh,
99
yeah, that's
points.
right.
JT Miller had 99 points, 32 goals. So out of his 99 points, 35 assists were on the power play, and 20. Hold on, what does that say? He had 8 goals on the power play. So he had 38 out of 99 points on the power play, which is a lot, obviously, but you would think good players, you know, they play a lot on the power play, so it makes sense. I want to make sure I'm reading this right. Yeah,
he also had, according to that, he had the majority of his points not on the power play, which, I mean, is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like 30, 39, and another thing is he's not committed to defense at all. One of his biggest things is he can't play defense. And I don't understand the concept of get JT Miller back to what he was before. Mm-hmm. Right now he has 41 points in 46 games. The guy's never been a 99-point player, like a 100-point player. His best season before that was 72 points in 69 games. And then in 2020, 2021, he had 46 points in 53 games. So I don't know what getting back to the real JT Miller is. Because right now, JT Miller looks like the real JT Miller. 41 points in 46 games is an average pace for the majority of his career. You could argue 99 points in 80 games for him is an outlier season. So I don't know what the plan is there. He doesn't play much defense at all. So I don't know what their plan is. So
Which is fine, I think, for the player he is. right? Like
it's just that he has an attitude problem. Like multiple times on Twitter, I've seen him just do some stupid decisions, say some stupid stuff. On Saturday, Oilers Canucks, after he gave up on the play that led to the 4-2 empty net goal, he slammed his stick on the bench. It's like you have no one to be mad at but yourself. You don't really have to take it out on your teammates. It lowers the team morale. And it couldn't get any lower.
And that thing, which I don't think it can, but the thing too with like it might have been around Christmas where he was like smacking the net for the goalie to leave. What are you doing? Like that's terrible. Terrible body language. Like, you know, you're yelling at your goalie. Like, it's just brutal. Like, that's so toxic.
Or pretty much telling the fans, like, I don't care. I already got your money. Like, referring to, like, throwing your jerseys on the ice.
Indeed, he did get their money, Matt. His contract hasn't kicked in yet. It's 8 years. 7 years, $8 million. And full no move clause. Modified no trade clause in the later years, and it doesn't. As I said, it doesn't start till next year, gentlemen.
So return on investment.
Tough.
They should have traded his ass, bro. I don't know what they were doing.
Why didn't they? I mean, they weren't a good team last year either.
I don't know what, like, they're, as Matt said, they're directionless. They're too good to get Bedard. They're too bad to make the playoffs. And mediocrity is the pinnacle of the worst thing in sports. You never want to be just mid. You either want to be super bad or you want to be super good. So at this point, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if Rick Tocchet's going to help them. I was going to pull up his record as a head coach, but
it's not good.
With Arizona.
It's not good.
But he was with Arizona.
Cool.
You're right.
Win hockey games.
And he did. Obviously, he has the Stanley Cup pedigree with Pittsburgh, but as an assistant coach, and we all know it's not as easy to go from an assistant to a head coach as most people think it is. DJ Smith, for example, not the greatest head coach, decent assistant. He was a good players coach, but it doesn't really work as a head coach. So
it also helps to have Sidney Crosby on your team.
I'd say so. And Evgeny Malkin.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, though, Canucks fans, I do feel a little bit bad for you. I find you guys a little bit annoying sometimes because for some reason the Leafs live in your heads, which is so weird. But I do feel bad in the sense that, like, this is the first time where I've seen, like, a coach get fired when none of the fans wanted him to be fired. You know, like, it was very obvious that it wasn't Bruce Boudreau's fault. Like, when most coaches get fired, I think most of the time when coaches get fired is because the goalie's playing bad. Like, a lot of times when you see coaches get fired, it's because their goalie's playing subpar, so the whole team is bad for some reason. But it's this whole situation is just so weird. And, like, the Canucks have had a lot of weird stuff happening in the beginning of the year with, like, the Rachel Dory thing when she was brought in to be a, like, on the bench coach, and then she was let go, like, the next week. But that's, like, a legal issue,
which was weird because she was behind the scenes at first, I think, and then she was brought on to be on the bench, and then, like, just gone.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Just gone. So that's another legal case, and then they're treating Boudreau like this. So, and I like, it's just unbelievable. I think it comes down to the owner. I don't know if you guys are with me on that. It comes a lot down to the owner.
Yeah, I think I said that last week with Aquilini. Like, it all boils down to him because in the past, I don't know, 10 years, like, how many coaches have the Canucks had? Because they've had like Willie Desjardins, Tortorella, Travis Green.
And they're paying most of them still.
Yeah, they're still paying Boudreau and Green on top of Rick Tocchet.
$7.5 million payroll for their coaches. So.
Still cheaper than JT Miller, though, believe it or not.
Yeah, actually it is. Yeah. 500K off. Maybe it's a bargain. But I don't know where the Canucks go from here. I hope we're finally done with them. I'm over it. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
We're not done with them. Come on. They're going to get worse. Boudreau had a positive record with that team. And he's the problem?
Did. Well, they fired him. Well, first of all, he gets hired and Jim Rutherford basically says, this isn't the guy I wanted, which is amazing. Good start, buddy. And then the second thing is the Canucks put all their eggs in the Thatcher Demko basket. And like I said earlier, if your goalie doesn't perform, somehow it's the coach's fault. So it's unbelievable what's going on there. I feel bad for Boudreau. I hope he comes to the Leafs. So that would be a lot of fun. But to put a wrap on the Canucks conversation, they're just mid. They're just mid. I don't know what else to say.
It was also touching, like you said, we should move on, but like it was touching to see the response the fans gave him because they knew he's on the way out. He knows he's on the way out, and then he gave a little wave after the game. Like I thought that was, I've never seen that before. Because usually a coach gets fired, it's like you might see the writing on the wall, but it's not like you will be fired in 2 days, right? So like
what got me was the brief pause after the final whistle where he just kind of soaked it all in. Because normally after a loss, the coach storms off to the room, but he was just he didn't know where the future was taking him, so he's just kind of taking a moment to soak the situation.
And I hate that this all broke down like in real time.
Yeah.
Like people were tweeting before the game started. This is Bruce Boudreau's last game, like officially. It's like, are we serious, bro? Like, why are we doing this to like a human being? And by all accounts, Bruce Boudreau's like a super nice guy, but just one of the nicer guys.
Like a great coach too.
Yeah,
like not a hard ass type coach, you know, like
that speech with what was it, the Capitals that gets replayed all the time. So I don't know, it's crazy, but we do have to move on to another team who is also bad, the New York Islanders. So apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, there's some FireLou chants because the Islanders have been on a skid as of late. They just lost to the Leafs on Monday. They got killed 5-2 after I believe it was tied for a bit. I'm gonna be honest, the Islanders I literally fell asleep watching that game because the Islanders
terrible.
Yeah, the Islanders just need under 4 points, so we'll get into that. But since January 1st, the Islanders are 2-7-3, and I want you. I don't know if you guys have seen this tweet. But I want you to guess the two teams they beat. Matt?
I didn't realize you're going to put me on the spot here. The two teams they beat. They didn't beat the Rangers, did they?
They did not beat the Rangers.
They did not beat the Rangers. I don't have all night here. Who are the two teams that they beat?
Hold on. I think, I'm going to guess the Bruins. And the Senators. I don't know why. All
right, 0 for 2. It was Montreal and Vancouver. So.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
So they've lost 5 straight games now, and they currently have 2 wins in this month. They're on a terrible skid. Ilya Sorokin is still like a god. He saves everything. But what is going on in New York? As Lou Lamoriello passes time, but like they're not gonna let Lou Lamoriello go, so they're kind of locked in there. So what do we think happens with the Islanders here?
First of all, is it time that we say it wasn't Barry Trotz's fault?
Oh, long overdue.
No, they needed a new voice in the room. They needed one desperately.
Yeah, the Islanders are one of those teams where Lou needs to go. There needs to be a culture change. Otherwise, they're just going to keep, spinning their tires and digging deeper into this hole.
Well, they need someone young and, not young. I say Lou Lamoriello's, really old, but someone young for, GM contextually. Someone who's more forward-thinking. I don't know what the plan is there.
Anyone. You didn't sign anyone this offseason. They had so much cap, and they just came off a season where they didn't do as well as they did. They didn't even make the playoffs, and they went to 2 conference finals in a row. They didn't sign anyone in the offseason. What are you doing?
They signed Nikita Soshnikov.
That's right. And how many goals did he score?
Plan the parade.
How many goals is he
hand them the cup. They signed Soshnikov.
if the Bruins get Nikita Soshnikov,
I'm ready to hand the Islanders a cup if they get Jesse Puljujarvi. I'm just saying.
Is this going to be a recurring theme every week?
Yeah. Where will Puljujarvi go? Wherever he goes, they win the cup.
Nikita Soshnikov was no longer in the NHL. I believe he got waived with contract termination. But
man, that's shocking.
He's in the KHL right now. 8 points in 11 games, so not that bad in the K. He's actually he's been really good in the K when he plays there.
Yeah, but
I think each of us could be point per game in the K though. Anyways,
well,
I can't skate, so the New York he played 3 games with the Islanders this year and had 0 points. So not the greatest summer of Lou. Summer of Lou, baby. Summer of Lou. So I don't know what the Islanders really do here, man. They a lot of people always go back to the Devin Taves trade where he traded Devin Taves for 2 seconds. And he's one of the best defensemen in the NHL right now, which is crazy that he did that. Well, I mean, look at the Islanders. They don't have the worst team in the world. You got guys like Anders Lee, Oliver Wahlstrom, Brock Nelson, Matt Barzal. But they're still trying to run these bottom 6 like grinder guys that just the league is past that at this point. I'm sure it works in the playoffs sometimes, but you got to make it there. And their defense is good too. When you look at guys like Noah Dobson, Adam Pellick, Scott Mayfield, Ryan Pulock, and then they have Ilya Sorokin on the back end. When I really look at this team, I don't think they should be this bad. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It might be a coaching thing, but I think that they need more scoring. They can't score. They just can't do it.
They can't score, and they're not playing a system that lends to that anymore because they were with Trotz, right? So, yeah. And the other thing too is their top guys, besides Barzal, are aging. They are getting older. They're in their 30s. I'm pretty sure.
I think Josh Bailey's cooked.
Josh Bailey, dude. I remember that guy as a kid. How is he still in the league? I'm sure he's young. I'm sure he was a rookie around the time I remember him.
33 years old.
I feel like he's been around forever. But Nelson, I think, is for sure in his 30s. Anders Lee is getting up there too. And they're not even elite. When you're an elite scorer in the league, does Anders Lee even break your top 25? Probably not, right?
He's not any elite, but I say he's what I would call a consistent goal scorer rather than an elite goal scorer. A lot of people get consistent. They're a consistent goal scorer. They'll get 20 or 30 every year. But yeah, he's I would say Max Pacioretty is a very consistent goal scorer. Mm-hmm. He used to be an elite goal scorer in my eyes, but I think he's a very consistent one now. And a guy like Anderson, I feel like he would fall under the consistent category. But
Pacioretty, by the way, I don't think he's done
playing again. Yeah. But looking at Josh Bailey, and I believe Tavares' last year with the Islanders was 2017, 2018.
Yep.
So he had 71 points in 76 games. And then next year, John Tavares leaves, and he has 56 points in 82 games. Not bad. 60-point player, not the worst.
Yeah.
Next year, 1920, only plays 68 games, 43 points. Not bad either. Same pace almost. 2020, 2021, bubble year, who really knows? I don't know if that counts, but 35 points in 54 games. Last year, you got 44 points in 74 games, so the fall off is pretty obvious. It's slow progression. This year, he has 19 points in 45 games. So he's on pace for, I believe, his worst season in a long time. And right now, one thing that is not bad, though, this is the second last year of his contract, so he has one more year after this one. So, they'll be able to move off that pretty easily. And then when I look at Anders Lee, if I can pull this up real quick. So Anders Lee right now, he has he has a no trade clause and a modified no trade clause. He makes $7 million until 2026. And right now, how old is he? He's 32 years old. So a couple more years left on that. And he's actually, I'm telling you, last year he had 28 goals. The year before that, 12 goals in 27 games. Pretty sure he was injured. The year before that, 20 goals. So he's always in that 20. Yeah, he's that 20 to 30 range.
Yeah.
This year he might score 25 or 30 around that. But 17 goals in 49 games, 33 points. He's still good. Anders Lee is still good.
Here's the thing though. When you look at Brock Nelson too, those are your two top scorers. Barzal's an assist guy. He's like a Marner, right? Your two top guys get you 45 goals a year. And that's it. After that, you have no goal scoring. You have no goal.
Well, I think
the Islanders sort of have that style where it's a snooze fest. So most of their top offensive guys just fly under the radar, and that's what happened here with Anders Lee and Josh Bailey.
It's true.
It's to the hardcore fan, okay, they're knowledgeable, but the Islanders are just so boring where it's nobody could really care about them other than that.
And they really are. They scored that 2-1 goal last night against the Leafs, and I was dude, watching paint dry.
Awful experience. Oh my god. And I think one thing with the Islanders, which is a problem, is I can't remember the last time they had a notable prospect at all, or someone that's come up and been good for them. They have
Barzal.
I think they expected a lot more out of Oliver Wahlstrom, and he hasn't given that to them. Right now he's in his technically his fourth pro season, but his first pro season was 9 games in 1920. But in his rookie season, 21 points, 44 games. After that, 73 points 24 points, 73 games, not 73 points. And then
24 games. This guy's Gretzky.
And then this year, he only has 16 points in 35 games. So I think they were expecting a lot more out of him. And when I think of the Islanders, I don't really think of many top prospects. I can't really think of anyone right now. I don't know if you guys have any in mind.
Like Barzell came up and he was good, right?
Yeah.
And then besides that, like Tavares, which was like 14 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, and like of course their defensemen like Dobson, Pulock, Pellick, they those are all internal guys, but like they don't. There's no one coming. There's no one coming to save the day with the Islanders.
The guys who were coming were guys like Dobson. They're here.
Yeah.
That's it.
And Dobson's damn good. He's a damn good player, but when I look at the New York Islanders, like I'm in their cap friendly right now. Like a guy like Atu Rati, like he's supposed to be like decent, but like I'm looking, I don't really see anybody here unless
they got guys like Robin Salo, William Defoe. It's not bad. It's not bad. Simon Holmstrom, and then after that, it's just a whole lot of nothing. Yeah,
the cupboard's not completely empty, but there's no real honestly, help on the way.
The problem is it makes sense because they were so good, so maybe their process wouldn't be as good. But now they're bad. Like I think it's time to move on to a new generation of like Islanders hockey.
Probably because, like you said, like is it coaching? Because look at the team. Like they shouldn't be they should be in the playoffs with that roster.
Almost most of it makes me wonder if it's like a Lou decision. Like this is the system you have to play because it got me success like 25 years ago. So play a boring style and see if it works.
Yeah,
and then Trotz, he went along with it, but it just makes me wonder if it just boils down from like a front office sort of deal. It's like if you do this, you will continue to be the coach. Don't divert away from it.
When Lou was GM of the Devils, they played the Leafs in a playoff series one time. I think it was 2001. And the Devils won a game where the Leafs had 6 shots the entire game.
That was the game 6. Yeah, that was the series winner.
The series winner, and the Leafs had 6 shots the entire game. I think they interviewed Sundin, and he was like, "Shit,
don't know what to tell you, Chief.
See you next year."
But yeah, with that being said, we will move on to the Islanders' opponent from Monday, Toronto Maple Leafs. Not going to spend too much time on them. I was a little bit agitated after the Saturday loss to Montreal. There's no game; those are games that you need to win, but that's the same old song and dance with the Leafs all the time. Monday night, William Nylander puts up 4 points. Really good game from him. Everyone I thought played good. Ilya Samsonov seems like he's the starter for now. But one thing I think my thing is I think in sports recently people love to jump the gun and jump to conclusions. So Samsonov has 4 games. He's already a lead Vezina candidate, starter for the playoffs. But if he has one bad game, Murray might take the pipes back. So who really knows? But I'm just happy the Leafs have 2 decent goalies that they can tandem. In the NHL nowadays, I feel like you need a tandem type style, like 2 decent goalies, so you can sports science not run the guys into the ground. So that's cool. And then Darius, just before we move on, what do you think of Monday's game? Obviously, we said it was kind of boring, but from the Leafs' perspective, of course.
That was good. A lot of positives. Matthews scored. Nylander's having a great season. Like, if you really look at it, like he's really, really playing well. Somebody said, I forget who it was, but there was a comment on a YouTube video, and they were like, Nylander is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the Leafs. Like, he's not the flashiest guy, but like you need him. You know what I mean? So I was like, that's a very good comparison. So
that's funny.
There's that. Samsonov looks, he's very consistent, especially at home. Looks great. Which is overall a good game. Besides watching the Islanders play because their system sucks and they're boring. But and to go back to Saturday, watch the game with 2 Habs fans. Not a good experience because it was basically an AHL team, and I wish the Leafs would, they gotta finish teams off. They don't. They were up 2-0.
Like I said last week.
You did say that. And it's been a thing for so long. 2 of their things is they don't finish teams when they have a good start, or they just don't start on time, right? They actually start on time. They got the 2-0 lead, and it's an AHL team basically. Step on their throats. Kill them. You got to win that game. And they didn't. So
and now we're demonetized. But to add to your point about Samsonov, a tweet from Kevin Papetti here, great Twitter follow, always has some interesting stuff to say. Ilya Samsonov is 13-0-1 at home with a .939 save percentage. So
939 is goofy.
Yeah, it's pretty good. He's due for regression, but I'm not going to worry about that because he's playing good now.
Yeah.
The Leafs, I believe they play the Rangers tomorrow, so hopefully they get a dub there. Should be a good game. Now we will move on to the Ottawa Senators. Quick hit here. So Josh Norris, we talked about it the other day, came back after a 36-game injury, played 3 games, and then he had to get shoulder surgery, and he's done for the season. So, Matt, because I know you're paying attention, what is your outlook on this amazing work by the Ottawa Senators?
I don't really pay much attention to the Senators other than the odd Hockey Night in Canada game, but I think they rushed Norris back way too quickly. I know last year the exact same situation happened with Shane Pinto, where Pinto was injured, came back, injured again, and said, what's the sense? You're not really playing for anything here. Rest your guys. Just because they want to come back quickly. I know the players on most teams get the final say, but I mean, don't risk it. Don't risk it at all. What's the sense?
I remember, like he when he originally got injured this year, they were like, it's a re-aggravated injury from before, whatever it was, his shoulder, and they're like, he might be out for the year, and I'm like, damn, that sucks, because it's like not even November or whenever he got injured, and then the other day I see he's injured again and actually out for the season. Like, I had no idea he came back. They were talking about he was already done, and he came back, and now he's actually done again, and he needs the surgery. Shoulders are like hips, right? Like, if you have it repaired like that, I don't know if you'll ever be the same again. Like, it's same with the back, you know, like that's I don't know. It looks like they rushed him back because, like Matt said, the Shane Pinto thing last year, they rushed him back. He got hurt again. He was out for the year, and he had a great start to this year, Shane Pinto. But I think the Sens are playing with. I think they're running into the same problem that the Habs have been accused of this year as well, playing guys who are hurt.
Like Caulfield?
Yeah, apparently he was hurt a long time ago.
Yeah, like I think they said like 3 weeks ago he could have the surgery. So, I don't understand. I guess players, I get it. They always want to play. They're competitive by nature. But, like, even if you are competitive, your team isn't competitive. And same thing with the Sens. Like, the Caulfield, I don't get why you're playing that guy. End the season, get him ready for next year. People were saying that it's maybe because his contract isn't signed, but we already know what kind of player he is. Like, I feel like him missing 2 months of hockey where the Habs are going to lose most games doesn't impact how we know him as a player. So,
and him playing hurt is not going to increase his value more than we already know what type of a player he is. So,
yeah, which makes no sense. And then we had something. I don't know if it was a rush back thing, but the Match Ready story is so sad to me, bro. Like, tears his Achilles, comes back, plays 3 games, and tears his Achilles again, the same Achilles. But I don't know if that's like a health thing, like they rushed a guy back. It reminds me of Kevin Durant in the 2019 NBA Finals.
Yeah.
When like he was like still so obviously hurt, and then he plays 1 game and ruptures his Achilles again. So I don't know what's gonna go on there. I feel bad for Patrick because he's still a damn good player, man. Like when he's out there and can play, he's, as I said, consistent goal scorer. So we'll see how happens there. But Matt, I'll let you take the floor here. Matt's little Oilers segment. The Oilers have been on a heater, so it's not as depressing as usual. Matt, take the stage, my man.
Since our last episode, the Oilers have played twice. They played Tampa on that Thursday evening, won 5-3 in a very chippy game. The last few, I'm going to sort of go away from the Oilers for a second, talk about the Lightning. But I watched the Lightning Oilers game and the Lightning Flames game on Saturday afternoon, and it's almost kind of sad to see, like, if the Lightning are down by multiple goals, they just start gooning it up.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's so sad to see. It's like, you're a much better team than that. You have the skill, you have the talent. You don't have to throw Patrick Maroon out there to sort of start a fight every 2 minutes.
No, like, why are you throwing in the towel when you're down by 2 goals? Like, if you go on the power play, they're probably scoring. Like, it's crazy. So I don't know. You're right though. Continue.
Yeah. That's all I really had to say about the Lightning. But with the Oilers, everything's starting to gel together. You know, trade deadline. There's still some names floating around that have sort of started to shift from defense to offense. It'd be nice to have a defender, but it'd also be nice to have someone like sort of solidify that bottom 6. Going off the top of my head, Skinner and Campbell, the tandem that was once promoted in the fall, heading into the season, they're finally starting to come into shape. And Stuart Skinner, a new father and an all-star, so
congratulations to him.
Quite
Very
the
nice.
month for him. Congrats, yes.
Matt,
any questions about the Oilers?
Press conference style. Wasn't it around this time last year that they fired Tippett and then they went on that kind of run that got them into the playoffs?
Yeah, it would have been early February 2022, and then that would have also been around the same time. No, because they got Kane, then they fired Tippett.
Yeah. So
yeah,
roughly around the same time. So I guess maybe they just find their groove around this time of year. Like I know the Leafs, it's like they have a shit October, and then they're kind of building up in November, and then they're kind of rolling, right? So could it be that they're just finding their groove now, finally in the season?
Pretty much. They've always historically had a pretty bad November, December, and then after the holiday break, they sort of remember, hey, we're the Oilers, and then they go on a heater, especially McDavid after the All-Star break. I think I could find there's a tweet that had like a breakdown of like McDavid points like in the first half of the season compared to the second half of the season, and it's ridiculous how much of a tear the guy goes on after
he's
the
already
All-Star
always
break.
on a tear.
I was gonna say, like, he has 40 goals, and you just said, "Oh, he gets better after the All-Star break."
Yeah, it's almost scary. It's almost scary. He just needs a team around him.
What's more scary is that the team isn't like easily the best in the league. You have a guy that's 40 goals at the end of January. So, and then what I did want to say is, I know it's always really fun to jump on a guy when they suck. But there's no way Jack Hamill was gonna be this bad for this long. So it's it's good that he's playing well, and I think it makes sense that eventually he would figure it out. I feel like for a goalie, especially, you're going to a whole new team, new setup, new fucking. Although a lot of people are saying, Jack Hamill's on a defensive smart team, but the Leafs were good defensively, which is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sports are so weird. Like with the math and numbers that we know now, we know that players always go through rough patches and then they figure it out because that's the law of regression. Unless you're Peter Mrazek on the Blackhawks, where you're just gonna be bad all the time. But there's no way Jack Hamill, who's a noted, like, let's say league average goaltender, was going to be that bad for that long. It just doesn't make sense mathematically. So it's good he's playing good, and it's good Stuart Skinner has been found money for them. So good for the Oilers, and the NHL is in a better place when McDavid makes playoffs, even though it's kind of funny when they miss. So that's what I'll say about the Oilers. But to wrap the show, we do have a decent segment here I wanted to get in. So the Athletic the other day posted a trade board. And I'm gonna go around the table. We'll do the top 10. I'll say the top 10. There's 25 years, so I want to do all of them. So we'll go from 10 upwards. And what we're gonna do is, we'll do a quick roundtable, and all you guys have to say is who they're getting traded to and why it makes sense. Okay?
Fair.
Yep.
All right. Number 10. We'll go to Matt first. From the Vancouver Canucks, right wing. His contract expires in 2025. UFA. Brock Besser.
Brock Besser. I don't know how they're gonna make it work, but I think he goes to Minnesota. Just because he's a Minnesota boy, and that would work on their wing.
That's exactly my thought too. I think it would be nice for him to go back home, and they could use some extra scoring with Kaprizov. So I think that'd be nice for both parties.
I agree. I will also say the Minnesota Wild. Not to be boring, but I feel like it'd be nice. I think he's been going through a lot as a human. So nice for him to be, get closer to home, be in a place where he's comfortable, get away from the toxic, I think, Canucks environment that exists right now. And I also don't know how it works. I know I said in the beginning to see how it makes sense, because the next year the Minnesota Wild are going to be strapped for cap space. Yeah. So we'll see how that happens. But Brock Besser, Minnesota Wild. Next up, Matt Dumba. Darius, I'll go to you first.
It might make sense for the Washington Capitals to trade for him, just because I think you mentioned it last show. Eric Gustafsson is not that guy. So, like, if they were to let him go, or maybe he drops back into a different role, I think with Karlsson getting older too, Matt Dumba is a nice little replacement in that spot.
Yeah, a little stopgap. I don't mind that at all. Matt?
Yeah, I think last episode, I think I sort of said Dumba to Washington too, just because Karlsson was hurt. So I'm just gonna piggyback.
Yeah,
off. That's what this segment's all about.
And I think Dumba can make sense for a lot of teams, like the Senators, even the Oilers, who just need more guys back there.
I said last week too, the Islanders even.
Yeah, whether or not Dumba is a good player now because of his injuries is that's up for debate. But I think, like you guys said, I hate to be boring again, but the Capitals makes a lot of sense. You're looking at a guy who could, maybe be a decent offensive defenseman, put in the right situation. And like I said, about Eric Gustafsson, like, there's random guys who, cannot play even strength hockey at all, but you put them on the power play and they're unbelievable. So, like, Eric Gustin is one of those guys, for example. And that's a valuable asset. I think a guy like Victor Olofsson is like Eric Gustin, but as a winger. Just on the power play, just eats, which is fine. And he makes sense. John Carlson, his injury looks pretty bad. We said this last week. So Matt Dumba could be a little, a nice guy. He's been through before decent to long playoff rounds, and he's played a lot of minutes before. He's been a minute eater. So Matt Dumba could make sense there in a similar role, and then they get John Carlson back for the playoffs maybe. That's a pretty formidable defense. So Matt Dumba, Washington, I don't hate it at all. Number 8 on their list was none other than Vladimir Tarasenko. So Matt, I'll go back to you first.
Tarasenko. I'm gonna say it. The Winnipeg Jets. I know it's within the division, but Tarasenko on the Jets, like along with like guys like Dubois and Connor and Scheifele and Wheeler, that would be a pretty solid fit.
Okay,
fair.
We're piggybacking too much because that was my pick.
Oh
as
my
well.
god! Dude.
But I will say my second pick. I was thinking of a different team. The New York Islanders. Make it work. You need scoring. Tarasenko, he is a scorer. So
yep,
make it work.
I have 2 picks. My first one is the Seattle Kraken. They had a chance to take him in the expansion draft. They went with Vince Dunn, and that seemed to work out for them. But they need something. I don't know exactly what it is. It might be a goaltender, but I think they need something going to the playoffs. And like Tarasenko could be a guy that could be leaned on for a few goals. A deep playoff run. He has that experience, as everyone likes to say. And my second team is going to be the New York Rangers. I think they could look at Tarasenko, bring him in as, that guys like Lafreniere and Cabo Caco haven't really been shot up into top 6 roles like maybe they thought they would this year. So if you add a guy like Tarasenko, there's been a lot of talk about Patrick Kane to the Rangers, and I think Tarasenko would be a cheaper option, and some might even argue he's better than Patrick Kane today. So add him to a team that already has guys like Chris Kreider, Artemi Panarin because of Zibanejad. Vincent Trocheck's a solid player back there, and I think Tarasenko would be a really decent ad over there in New York.
I like that one. That's not bad.
But number 7, Jonathan Toews. So, Darius, I'll go back to you first on this one.
I think it's a little obvious just because he's from there and everyone keeps... Like, I feel like this is going to be the least surprising deadline move if it happens, and it's to the Jets. It just adds that experience. It adds the depth for the team. He's not as good as he once was. But if he plays like third line center for them in the playoffs, that's a dangerous team. So I'll say the Jets.
Matt?
It's a little biased, and they need someone who can win a faceoff desperately. I'm going to say the Oilers.
The Edmonton Oilers going after Jonathan Toews. I'm just going to say he stays with the Blackhawks, guys. Really? I don't really see him. Like, it's a hefty cap hit. I don't remember, like, saying, I'll talk about this when we get to Patrick Kane. Like, when was the last time you saw a guy making double digits get moved to the trade deadline? You know what I mean? So
it's a unique situation for sure. But they're both up after this year, right?
Yes, they're both UFAs. But just to make that work in the hard cap world, it's a tough one, man. Like, you do half retention, okay, it's 5.25. Then you do another half retention to another team, and then it's like 2 point whatever. So I don't know if he actually gets moved. I'll say the same thing about. I think Patrick Kane is more likely to get moved just because the player he is and how like he's like up until last year or up until this year he's been like an 100-point producer no matter what's happening. So he'll probably get moved. But yeah, Toews, man, it's a little hefty. And like you said, man, they're gonna pay that much for like centers are so valuable, and a guy like him has the experience. And maybe Toews is the kind of guy that gets ramped up for the playoffs again, like when they made it in the bubble against the Oilers. All of a sudden, he's just a really good player again. So we'll see what happens, but I think he ends up staying with Chicago, and then he signs with a new team, or maybe he stays there. Who really knows? Next up, number 6, another center from the St. Louis Blues, Ryan O'Reilly. Matt, where's Ryan O'Reilly going?
He's going to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't really need to explain it. They just need someone to bolster down that middle. And like you said, with the playoff experience.
There's a few guys that have been rumored for the Leafs, but out of all of them, I think ROR is that guy. I think he goes to the Leafs. It gives him a third, which sounds stupid because he's Ryan O'Reilly, third line center. But it gives him a really, really good option down the middle. He wins faceoffs. He's won the Stanley Cup, which is a thing the Leafs keep loading up on these older guys, but until recently, they have not loaded up on older guys who have won the cup. They have not loaded up on guys who've actually done it. So I think that's a good fit.
And I don't hate Ryan O'Reilly on the Leafs. Everyone's saying he's a down season. My only thing is I'm a little bit scared because he's dealt with a few injuries. He's getting older. And he's had a down season, of course, but you throw that guy in your third. It's similar to like the Jets getting Taves in that sense. But I think today you would probably say Ryan O'Reilly's a little bit better than Jonathan Taves. But you're looking at a guy who's won the Conn Smythe Trophy, won the Selke Trophy, won the Stanley Cup, gone on multiple deep playoff runs with the Blues. You know, he's a veteran. He's been in the league for a long time, and he's just a solid player. And I think the Leafs need that type of guy. They don't have that type of guy,
especially as centerman.
Every Stanley Cup winning team they're like at least 3 lines deep, like solid 3 lines deep. They can run out any 3 lines. Like, why do you think the Tampa Bay goes out and trades first round picks for third line wingers every year? Because they know it's important.
Because Nick Paul's going to score you 2 goals in Game 7.
Exactly, they're just guys like that will do it. So it's a big get for them if they end up getting them. But I will also say Ryan O'Reilly to the least makes sense. But honestly, I can see him going to like a bunch of teams. Like Ryan O'Reilly is kind of like a Swiss Army knife in the way that he could kind of just fit wherever. Like third line center, first line center, second line center, penalty kill, power play. Kind of guy that can just hop in any team and kind of fit in because he's just a responsible guy. But next up, number 5, John Klingberg of the Anaheim Ducks is having a rough season. But every report says the Ducks are trying to get a first for him. I don't know if that actually happened. But who's a guy that could benefit from a guy that's mostly known as an offensive dynamo? The instincts are there. You're looking at a guy who's all his players say he can run a power play. He can make a good first pass. Just a dynamic guy offensively, and his defense. We know it's not that good. Darius, where's John Klingberg going?
The Dallas Stars.
Back to Dallas?
Maybe, I don't know. I thought they could use a guy like him, and they didn't re-sign him last year because they didn't think he was worth what he wanted, and then he kind of screwed up because he signed in Anaheim for 1 year. So I don't know. It could make sense. I don't think either of them wanted to part ways. I think it was a matter of money. So yeah, let's put him back on that boring Dallas team.
It was also a matter of a role for Klingberg because
Heiskanen's there, yeah. But I think it's another scoring option because, like I just said, like they're a boring team. So
just have some more offense going.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe if they think they can squeeze in, if they can squeeze in, maybe because he's an interesting player. Not too many teams need like a number 1 power play defenseman. You know what I mean? Maybe Washington too, but I don't think they want a guy like that.
Matt?
Yeah, if the only team that's willing to sign you is the Anaheim Ducks, there's some issues there. So I think he stays in Anaheim.
Yeah, unless it's like a Taylor Hall type acquisition where he goes for peanuts. I don't see him getting moved. But I feel like a team at the deadline might pull the trigger and add him. Like I just see that happening.
It will be for peanuts though, because I see Anaheim just being like, "Yo, take this guy." Like
we're not going to re-sign him. Y'all can just have him. Yeah, like it's not worth it to us.
Yeah, so I see him getting moved for sure. Somebody will find use for him, I think.
Yeah, and I think a team, honestly, when he's a guy that has been to the Stanley Cup final before, and he's been on a few runs with the Stars. So
it was a Mickey Mouse Stanley Cup final, but
I do think at the end of the day he will get moved to a team that just needs bodies. Like in the playoffs, teams will use fucking everyone.
Like Vegas, I think Vegas could be a solid candidate. Yeah, thinking about it now, because like you said, Vegas just needs people because they drop like flies.
Yep, every game like Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, or Alex Pietrangelo, one of them is injured. Shea Theodore, so I don't really mind that. That would be a decent get. And Vegas is always in on someone at the deadline. They'll always grab someone. So
yeah, because they just they know how to abuse the cap. They'll just be like, "Hey, Mark, you're injured tonight."
Yep, you're not playing, buddy. You're not playing. And then as we said, Islanders, sure, get him, whatever, who cares? Number 4, I think this guy is the best player that's available, bar none. From the San Jose Sharks, Timo Meier. Matt, where's Timo Meier going if he gets traded?
Timo Meier. I don't know how they'd make it work. I said this before, but I'd love to see him on the New Jersey Devils. Like, just seeing him get added to that fast-paced offense. that would make them fun to watch. And normally I don't say that about the Devils.
That's fair. That's fair.
It would be nice for the Leafs to get him because they need like a left wing scorer, and he can play that. He's a left shot. Like, that'd be nice. Don't think it's going to happen. He reeks of a Bruins acquisition to me. Like a guy who's going to come in and they're just like, hey, third line, but you'll score like 7 goals.
I would argue the guy who's number 1 is more of a Bruins acquisition, but we'll get to him. I
think I know who number 1 is, and I agree. He probably will be going to the Bruins.
But Timo Meier, that guy can fit anywhere, man. And I don't mind a New Jersey team because they're up and coming, and he's an RFA at the end of the year. $10 million qualifying offer. But New Jersey is a team that could lock him up, like for a lower AAV at a lot of years. So I think New Jersey, they make a lot of sense for him, man. They're going to the playoffs. They're a strong team. So we'll see what happens with them.
Or the Islanders.
Man, we can
or the Capitals.
Seattle could low-key be a contender for him too.
That'd be good for Seattle because he'd be a guy who they could resign and he could be like a.
He'd be like a guy.
A guy.
Like, he'd be their number 1. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm sorry people are listening. I know we keep seeing the same 5 teams, but like the deadlines, all the reports say it's like 6 teams interested in everyone.
Yeah,
like,
because
when I'm looking at it.
If you're like the Islanders, you're on the outside looking in, so you might not make a splash, right? So it's usually like the same like 3 teams in each division that want these guys.
Exactly. Next up, number 3, Chicago Blackhawks right winger Patrick Kane. Matt, where's Patrick Kane going?
You said this about Taves. I'm going to say this about Kane. I think he's staying because there's only a few teams, and I think it's just going to be tricky to work the cap in a situation unless, like you said, there's another team involved to make it a 3-team trade. I just don't see it happening for Kane.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be really tricky with the cap hit, like you said, especially with the teams we've heard he wants to go to, or that would make it work. But, maybe the Rangers, because I feel like he would want to play in New York, and, they're going for it. He's a really good player. Like, he's not showing it this year, but the Blackhawks suck. But he's a really good player. We know that. He's a playoff performer. We know that. Or maybe somewhere like LA. I don't know. I don't think they need too much scoring, but something like that.
That would be crazy. If Patrick Kane went to LA, that'd be crazy.
Yeah. I think like one of those.
The history there.
One of those 2. Yeah, I think it would be very interesting. But probably New York Rangers if he moves.
Yeah, and I don't really think he's going anywhere either. To be honest with you guys, it's just in the hard cap world, these guys just don't get moved, man. Like unless it's like that's an off-season type trade where you have a lot of time to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So. I don't really know. I don't think he gets moved, so that might have a little boring outlook. But now, next up, number 2, we've had extensive talks about this player, defenseman for the Arizona Coyotes, Jacob, I don't know, Chikrin. Great player. 2025 is a UFA. He makes like $4.6 million. This guy, to me, is a player team should be lining up for with all their assets. I've said this before. He's a borderline elite defenseman. Good point production, solid defensively. He's just a great player. People were worried about his health, but he came back from injury and he's looked just as good as he usually does. Darius, where is Jacob Chikrin going if he gets traded at the deadline?
A lot of people are making connections to the Leafs. I don't think that makes sense anymore, personally. Just with the personnel the Leafs have. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Oilers. They need defense, and that's a defenseman. Like, well, obviously. But, like, he's a good defenseman.
For sure.
I think it makes sense. They want to go on a deep playoff run. They went to the 3rd round last year. You add a guy like that, you should spend the assets. Maybe not what Arizona's asking for, because that's crazy. But, yeah, I think it makes sense for the Oilers.
Matt?
They're young. And they need a guy like Chikrin, the Buffalo Sabres. Like Chikrin on the Sabres would make them like scary these next few years.
You're adding him to Darlene and Owen Powers. That would be good.
Yeah, and like the Sabres, they have the prospect pool and they have the picks to offload for Chikrin. Like they have like Peterka. I don't know why I'm blanking all Krebs. And even like the guys in the lineup still like they have the assets to go for Chikrin.
Maybe even.
Yeah. Well, Cousins, I'm not too sure, but like other than that, like their prospect pool and the assets that they have, I don't know why they're not the front runners for Chikrin.
Yeah, and also they have a guy like a goalie like Devin Levi who they could also move because like Luukkonen seems like he's going to be the guy there at this point. So that's another asset they have. I will say apparently they've circled back on this guy a lot of times. The Ottawa Senators could use a guy like Jacob Chikrin. They literally have no other defenseman aside from like Shabbat, and Artem Zub's a decent player, but it's Artem Zub at the end of the day. They need another guy. I think Jake Sanderson has given them really good minutes this year. Eric Branson hasn't panned out for them, nor has Jacob Bernard Docker just yet. So I think they need to add a guy like Jacob Chikrin. If Pierre Dorian wants to go out and add all these guys like Tim, they draft Tim Stutzla. Josh Norris plays good. Jake Batherson plays good. They add Claude Giroux and they add Alex Brinkat, and nothing happens on the defensive end. They need to bring in a guy like Chikrin, I think, is the move for them. But number one is basically as good as gone as most people are saying. I think a lot of the guys here like might not get traded, like the big names. But number one, he's definitely getting moved. Bo Horvat of the Vancouver Canucks. I think me and Darius have the same opinion on where he's going to go. Matt, do you have anyone different?
I was thinking he's going to Boston.
I was also, but
Yeah.
I think they're going to make a huge pitch to get a guy like that. Like that is a deal breaker for the Bruins. Like that puts them well over the top, I think.
Wait, guys. if they if they get Bo Horvat, should we hand them the cup?
Listen,
I think we should hand him the cup.
No. Go back and watch the last episode because the Bruins will only win the cup this year if they trade.
For
Puljujarvi.
Puljujarvi. Oh, okay. Oh,
and
okay,
that's all.
okay. Folks, the goalposts have moved.
That's right. No, you can trade for Horvat all you want, and I think he's going there, but you'll lose in the second round if you do not get Puljujarvi.
Yep. That's the guy that pushes them over the edge. But with that being said, we will say thank you all for listening so far to this episode. Drop a like, hit that notification bell, and do all that fun stuff. Subscribe, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Twitter, and do all that cool stuff. But so we will get into the rap question here. This one is brought to you by Mr. Mondays. So the question is this week, which failed hockey innovation would you like to see brought back? And Matt, I'll let you go first because I do not have an answer for this question.
Okay. I'm going to go not for like a broadcasting purpose, but for a review purpose. And I'm going to say the Fox Tracks glow puck that was used in the 90s. And I'll sort of explain why. Because in the HD world, you can obviously see the puck. But for review purposes, I think it would help what's the word here? Sort of like balance the difference between if it like crosses the line or not. Like if it crosses the goal line, or say the goalie catches it in his catcher and it crosses the line, the puck is black. The catcher might also be like the netting might also be black. Turn on the goal puck, see if it crossed the line or not.
I like that. It's kind of like VAR, right?
Yeah, pretty much like VAR, just with a glow puck, and you don't have to subject Americans to seeing a glowing hockey puck on their television screen ever again.
Yeah. It makes sense. I like it, and I think was it the 2021 season with no fans where they tried the trackers and guys like Matthews were saying the pucks were heavier and they didn't like it.
The pucks felt different.
Yeah, I'm sure you can figure out a way to do like put an Apple AirTag in it or something like like figure it out. You can do it.
Well, if they have the tags in the jerseys, then they should find a way to put them in the puck.
Yeah, and it's also
in a
like,
much easier way. Yeah.
My thing is like if my debit card can have a chip in it where I can tap and pay for stuff, why can't they like get that working? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's almost negligible.
Yeah, so, and have technology on the goal line where you can just see, okay, the puck is completely across.
Yeah. And also, hockey players are also just weird. So
yeah, exactly. Oh, the puck is a little heavier.
I don't like it.
Okay, get used to it. You know, guys used to play with literally wood sticks that they'd break off of a tree.
Yeah, exactly. So Darius, what are some innovation you would bring back that didn't work out as well as they should?
All right. This is going to be controversial, I think.
Oh boy.
But
and the glow puck wasn't?
yeah, that's true. The Cooperalls that the Flyers wear sometimes.
Those are just cool.
Yeah. The Flyers brought them back for only warm-ups, which is like bring it back for the games, man. Why warm-ups? So I think those should come back in like a retro sense, not with like regular jerseys or something, but like, you know, if you want to do a retros 70 night or something, like throw those on and actually like have them be wearable. I think they're cool. Like I think they're cool. They could be cool. So I would say those Cooper Rolls, bring it back.
And out of you guys, I have the best answer because mine is the mirror tinted visors. Those need to come back. That picture of like Ovechkin with like the tinted visor is so goddamn icy. So I would love for them to bring back. I would love the NHL to become interesting, like just in general. Like the game itself is a little interesting, but the peripherals and the aesthetic of hockey itself isn't all that interesting. Mm-hmm. So if they imagine they do what you did, they start wearing Cooper Rolls, they start wearing like tinted visors. There's custom a fucking skates. Glow puck. There's a glow puck or like custom skate blades and stuff like that. The game people would be dripped out like in the game, like you see with the NBA, like when they're wearing like they have shooting sleeves, they have really cool fucking shoes. In the NHL, there's really no customization to what they're wearing in the game. So I think you could do that. You could bring in a lot more fans, and that would be an awesome thing to do. And I would be amped to like Matthews pull up with like a blue mirror tinted visor. That would be so sick. So
or even Nylander, because he switched to a tinted visor this year. But if it was like mirrored and shit, like that'd be cool.
Yeah. So that's what I would bring back. But with that being said, guys, I do want to thank my fellow co-hosts for joining me today. Shout out Darius, basically our producer of the show. Shout out Matt, pays for the premium Zoom account, and shout out me for making the thumbnails now. So yeah, that's always a lot of fun. But thank you all for listening. Have a great day for listening to this in the day. Have a great night listening to this in the night. And if you're driving, make sure you guys always drive safe. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out, everyone.
For more content, visit our YouTube channel and check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to follow the guys on social media at Matt_Mondays, at Nick LaFlame, and at Darius Dominguez.